technically, despite having the most wins in both the AL and all of Major League Baseball, 52 of them for New York, no longer the best winning percentage.
You expect your front offices to hit that gas pedal when it comes time to get a better team on the field post All-Star break, because the one thing that you know from the Yankees and the Orioles is what, Ben? You're going to fight with each other throughout the stretch here, and you want home field advantage.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You know, this guy is the mad scientist. I mean, he's all about green density. So in my mind, I feel like he's going to have the green speeds dialed in, and the angles he needs to land them and all that sort of stuff. I feel like he's going to be in a good spot and playing the course well. And he's going to be hitting less club into a lot of these par threes too. So I just, we're talking about using a live guy. I love Bryson this week. I'm riding with Bryson.
Only on SportsGrid.
This new sports integrity partnership, Genius Sports, is involved in this. More protection.
They said that's going to allow them to beef up their protection and add more integrity monitoring tools to essentially catch bad behavior before it happens. This comes, obviously, after a just ton of scandals we've had across sports betting lately, whether it's the MLB umpire, Pat Hoberg.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Despite me being a Yankee fan, I think Joe would deserve the label as Aaron Judge's biggest fan, not through any bias, but just through the amount of money that he's made anybody who's been betting on him.
I just had him for that home run, and I'm going to go back to it today. That home run coming in at plus 230. Max Fried here, while he has been strong, this is Aaron Judge.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Let's make it happen. It's game time decisions. We're live on SportsGrid. We're following the Wimbledon. You know that. We're live here for 2 hours. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. And this right here, we're not texting and hosting. We're tracking and hosting. You know what it is. Novak right now is minus 650. We've got breakpoint here for Novak. Would make it 4-2 in set 3, which I'm invested in. Yesterday on the show, we went through the action that I placed heading into this match. Did lose a Novak, a first set, with Alcaraz full match money line, which was plus 400. It's all good. The main thing for me was both guys to win a set. So the pressure is on here in set 3. Of course, that would also, if we do not see Novak win this set, collapse the over 40.5 games, and it would be Alcaraz who would win the men's side of Wimbledon. He is still going to be a huge favorite to do so, and has found himself now with break point here. It is presently 3-2 Novak. This is the best set so far we've seen from Novak Djokovic. We're going to continue to follow this action. Casey Hudson will be back with us here in about 10 minutes' time. We're tracking everything for you with Wimbledon. And again, what is a massive men's final with a lot on the line. There's a few other live options, you know, that are out there. But again, things will start collapsing if Alcaraz is able to pull away and make it 3-3. But we're back to love. Fantastic. Let's talk some soccer, shall we, folks? I mean, we are completely deuce. Listen, bear with me, all right? I mean, we're in the mix, but how much can we really be in the mix? I mean, I had to be a soccer guy today. I mean, I got to be a little bit of everything. I love doing that. That's all good. Let's make it happen. It's Spain. It's England. I like the dogs. Spoiler. Everybody is sizzling on the favorites when it pertains to the soccer slate today. And to a degree, I get it. But I think there is a level of being a hypocrite if you are on Spain and Argentina. Bear with me. But if you look at England, who is the dog in this match, they were a pre-tournament favorite. They were the favorite to win this all when we set the bracket. Now, I understand. They had a clearer path. I gotcha. And Spain has looked better while beating teams the caliber of Germany and France in the build-up to this. But you're getting an England team that, again, was a pre-tournament favorite at plus 250 on a triple money line. I think there's value here. I think they can go 11 for 11 on any single country in the world. This squad is so talented. And the crazy thing with England, because anybody that has been betting this team has been wondering at which point are they going to step up and score first and then score again. And it doesn't happen. But due to that being the case, here's the deal. If Spain goes up 1-0, it's not really panic button. It's comfortable for England. That's the way these things spin. I'm taking a chance on their plus 250 money line. The quick pick, though, is Jude Bellingham, who is the top choice from this English side to win player of the tournament. We'll talk about that in a moment, but plus 300 for a goal or an assist. Bellingham is just, look, he's obviously a supreme talent, but he's just also a man of the moment. He's a narrative guy. He finds a way. And at plus 300, I think you're getting a bet that is well worth your time. The value is there so much because these games are not expected to be incredibly high scoring today. So Bellingham being involved in a goal, and if he's involved in the winner, if he scores the winner, you can guarantee he will become player of the tournament. The favorite for that, though, is the birthday boy. At least a couple of days ago, it was 16-year-old turned 17-year-old Lamine Yamal at plus 150. The most fascinating bit of that, though, is, again, if you just look at it, has Yamal been the best player for Spain? I think there are arguments for no, right? We look at the Golden Boot. Dani Olmo is the favorite. Scored a goal in all three games of the knockout stage they've played so far. But Yamal is the story of the tournament for Spain. And really, what are the other competing storylines of this tournament? Yamal being a superstar, France not being good enough, and England, despite being here, not being good enough. Oh, and Ronaldo, right? And how bad he was. So really, the top storylines are basically Yamal's awesome, and a lot of other teams have been disappointing inside this tournament. That's how you get to a number like that. There is a piece of me that wants to fade. I am curious if today you will see live odds throughout Euro 2024 in this market. I do think there is a real chance that the goal scorer, right, or if it's an assist even from an Olmo or a Rodri, could still get them player of the tournament. But I am on England money line, and I am on Jude Bellingham to score or assist at plus 300. Live update on the tennis. It's 4-3 Novak. Alcaraz got the job done, made it 3-up, but it is 4-3 Novak now. Minus 800 on Carlos Alcaraz, 5-1 on Novak Djokovic. The set 3 winner price, minus 115 on Alcaraz, minus 105 on Novak. I think that is the most telling number, because the fact that you have Novak in a desperate spot, up a set, and he is still being positioned as the slight dog, it really does speak volumes. It really speaks volumes to how the books are now shaping up Alcaraz in this tournament, that he is running away with this and he looks dominant. And look, there's a lot of big picture aspects that will come out of this dominant type of run for Carlos Alcaraz that he has right now on his hands. But again, these guys have seen each other a few times and comebacks have happened. We'll continue to follow that. Let's talk some Copa America, Argentina, and Colombia. So I mentioned a hypocritical nature, if you will. The idea on Spain being the level of the favorite that they are is they've looked the best team in the tournament. Yet, when we look here, it's pre-tournament favorite Argentina at minus 200, despite the fact Colombia's looked like the best team in the tournament. I don't really know what argument anyone would offer. Argentina had a significantly easier path, almost a bit of a joke. With respect, they played Canada in the semis. Colombia played Uruguay. Colombia was in a group with Brazil, who was the second choice to win this tournament, and Colombia won that group. So this is, to me, an instance where now and Colombia's on a 28-match unbeaten run. So we look at Colombia, and again, if Spain's form is enough to now make them minus 160 favorites, how is this not closer? Is that a Messi effect? I'm not sure. Are people not seeing Colombia the same way I am? It's possible, but it makes the bet for me then Colombia plus a half, double chance, if you will, draw or Colombia inside that 90 minutes plus additional time to get the job done. I think they can win inside the 90. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if this is a draw, which is a plus 190 wager. But I took Colombia, which is a win or a draw, plus a half a goal at minus 140. I thought it was absolutely worth the price here. And the quick pick for me is James Rodriguez. So there are no player or the tournament props available for Copa America. I am not sure, admittedly, if they go about it the same way that we see it's gone about on the UEFA side of things, but James Rodriguez would be the guy. 7 goal contributions. 7 goal contributions at Copa America. He has been brilliant. He has been everything for this team, and plus 310 to put another on the board. Again, I just can't pass that up here. So let's get James Rodriguez at plus 310 for a goal or an assist. Let's check in with Lionel Messi, though. Because, of course, having Messi at the Copa America final is going to bring out a lot of action. Here are all the different props that we've got on Messi. The one that I'm sure many will be involved with, the anytime goal scorer at plus 180, is probably, of every single bet on the slate today, I think it could easily be the most bet wager out there for Messi. I don't mind the score or an assist, but again, Messi's not had himself a dominant tournament, but no moment like the present. We will continue to break down Euro 2024 and Copa America when we go back to Wimbledon next on Game Time Decisions.
One of the many exciting things about joining Live was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed, right? I've been able to play events in Spain.
Here in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta, it's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50 years old club, but so much has happened through the years. I mean, we had the Ryder Cup, we had World Golf Championships, and now we have Live. It's
very exciting, and really, if there was ever a place to get my first win, I feel like this would be the perfect week.
This wind at this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
What the heck course were you playing today?
I don't know.
It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I don't know. I just made everything I looked at, Jerry. You have those days. I suppose this is one of those days for me, so I relished it. I really enjoyed it. Every time I stood over a putt, just felt like I could make it, and you don't get days like that too often, or certainly I don't. So, I relished in it, and I managed to hit a lot of good shots as well. So it was a special day.
Live on SportsGrid, we're following the men's final at Wimbledon 2024. Listen, we've got a 5-4 lead for Alcaraz, which means he is a game away from winning in 3 sets, which would really be remarkable and would be an upset for me due to where some of my wagers are in this. Again, minus 2,000 right now. No, 8,000, excuse me, on Alcaraz. Minus 3,000 now to win this third set. The books have not wasted much time buying into Alcaraz and the separation that he's created here from Novak. But let's bring in Casey Hudson, who's been live on SportsGrid all morning following this match. Casey, what have you seen that's gotten us to this point? And, I mean, before I even ask you if Novak could win a match, do you think Novak can still win a set here against Alcaraz?
I was so strongly opinion that he was not going to be able to lose 3 straight sets. But the unfortunate part right now is that Alcaraz's game is just firing on all cylinders. And even though we're seeing some small responses back from Jokic, it's just not consistent enough. And Alcaraz is delivering not only when it comes to those first service points, but also in the net presence. He's sitting at 87% at the net versus Djokovic's 45%. And if you can't get some strong volleys going, if you can't cover the distance on the court, then you're going to kind of fall in short. So I'm concerned about him being able to pull off a set here, and we actually might see something strong out of Alcaraz to go 3 sets strong.
Now, I don't want to, cart horse and talk about changing of the guard or anything of that nature, Casey, but I think those conversations could very well be around the corner. I'm curious, again, you've had such a close eye on this match all morning. What has allowed Alcaraz to get to this point here? Is it his individual dominance, or are we seeing Novak off his game, which is kind of the sense that I was getting with what I was able to see from this match this morning?
Yeah, as exciting as it is to see how Alcaraz's game has just developed into this force to be reckoned with. And mind you, he's won 12 straight grass matches throughout the year. So that just speaks to his ability to deliver right now. We have to give Joker credit. 20 years and in this game, 20 years in this sport, the records that he has created. I don't want to sit here and say that there's a change of guard. I think that obviously the knee injury has to be taken into account. Surgery 1 month ago is nothing to kind of overlook or underestimate. And I talked about it with Joe earlier. Joker had a bit of a smoother path to the championship. He closed things out in fewer sets. He's had to play 4 less hours of tennis throughout this entire Wimbledon tournament. So you're looking at somebody that came into the situation and didn't fully get a chance to test the knee and put it to pressure. And what we're seeing here is his lateral movements kind of have some hesitation in it. His forehands don't have as much power behind it because that's where he has to really put a lot of leverage on the knee. We saw reservation in that first set, which obviously kind of played a large role in things. And then you're talking about a game where he can't just rely on his serve. So I don't think it's anything to say that Joker's game is not there. I think that his original game is not available to him right now.
It's really interesting to watch, Casey. I see championship point here. So I'm going to I don't want to spoil stuff for people because kind of it depends if you're streaming, if you're going off of the sports books, they're all ahead. But look, Alcaraz is certainly on the cusp of it. What I think is, and what's certainly going to, upset my approach to this match here is, while I thought Alcaraz was the rightful favorite and would likely win, nothing suggested Novak could be shut out here. I think Novak's history on this court, but not just that, what we've seen from Alcaraz. Alcaraz has dropped the set. You and I were able to talk a little bit yesterday morning in 4 straight matches leading up to the final here. So I think maybe it does speak to what you said, that Novak really wasn't tested. Maybe it's wear and tear. I want to be cautious making a Tiger Woods comparison because Novak's in a final and Tiger misses cuts, but I think people will kind of get what I'm getting at here. It really, though, is stunning. Again, Alcaraz winning, not stunning. 3-0, which, again, we're close to here, Casey. That's the real surprise.
Beyond, because you and I did discuss this yesterday. We thought, if nothing else, that you would at least see this dominant veteran and Joker at least pull off a set. And we were both counting on that first set to go in his favor, because Alcaraz's serve, it started off strong in rounds 1 and 2. It kind of started to get a little inconsistent there. Obviously, versus Medvedev, we saw some concern there because it took him a minute to get in a rhythm of finding his serve. But it looked like he acknowledged his weaker points more aggressively than any of us gave him credit for, because he came in and made sure that he was able to deliver on the serve side. But something else that he did so well, which is a topic of discussion, injury aside, is the fact that Alcaraz is so explosive, dynamic. He's very fast. He has a fast serve. He can cover a lot of ground on the court. And if he can force his opponent to do that, he has an upper hand there because he does it so flawlessly. So that's where we kind of see him take over this match, is that he's forced Djokovic to have to move around the court. And with that level of discomfort or inability, that's where we're kind of seeing some things come in short. And when it comes to Wimbledon and grass courts, not only is that serve key, but so is the ability to work at the net. We're seeing a lot of balls go into the net for Joker here. So at one point, you can almost say that not only is Alcaraz beating Joker, but the net is beating Joker, because you can't get a volley game going. You can't get a response going. You can't stay in any contention. And at this point, it's working against him in a number of ways.
Yeah, it certainly has been. I will say he's battled back. Look, I've done my best to sharpen up on the terminology. Bear with me. It was 40-0. It's now 40-40. All right, there's love, there's deuce. All right, we're in the mix. That's all I know is Novak is kind of battling back here, Casey, which I know I'm still certainly rooting on. Look, I don't want to take up all your morning. I want to ask you this quickly, though. If Alcaraz does win, do you think he will move to the favorite for the U.S. Open? It's very close right now between him and Novak.
Yes, I think so, because he didn't like how things were left at the U.S. Open last year, and he's somebody who's able to translate his game across all the surfaces, and I think he has a point to prove with it. So to come off of a performance like this, to have the stronger path to the Wimbledon championship, and then to lift it back-to-back, I think he has all the momentum heading into the U.S. Open, especially if he makes certain adjustments to his game with the different surface.
Casey, we appreciate it a ton. Novak has break point here. We'll be following it all morning. Great stuff. As always, we'll be right back on Game Time Decisions.
One of the many exciting things about joining Live was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed. Right, I've been able to play events in Spain.
Here in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta. It's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50-year-old club, but so much has happened through the years. I mean, we had the Ryder Cup, we had World Gold Championships, and now we have Live. It's
very exciting, and really, if there was ever a place to get my first win, I feel like this would be the perfect week.
This windy, this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
What the heck course were you playing today?
I don't know.
It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I don't know. I just made everything I looked at, Jerry. You have those days. I suppose this was one of those days for me, so I really shouldn't. I really enjoyed it. Every time I stood over a putt, just felt like I could make it, and you don't get days like that too often, or certainly I don't. So I relished in it, and I managed to hit a lot of good shots as well. So it was a special day.
We're live on Game Time Decisions. We've got a lot happening here. 40-15, Novak with an opportunity to make this 6-5, and he just has. My, oh, my. We had championship point at 40-0. Again, bear with me, all right? But my, oh, my, this is something here. Let's get live odds. Minus 800. Alcaraz was minus 3,000. He was minus 3,000. to win the set. I believe it was minus 8,000 to win the match. Novak is now a favorite to win this set. Wow, he was plus 1,000 to win this set. I mean, this is absolutely something here. Look, and here's what I will say. And I'm sure right now if you are rooting on Alcaraz, you do not want to hear this. But when you get an all-time great in a championship spot, you believe anything can happen. That's the truth of it. When you get and everybody knows Novak's an all-time great. It's step by step. Okay? Well, Tiger, the fact that he was able to put another Masters on the board. Brady putting another Super Bowl on the board. Right? When you get all-time greats in these spots, LeBron down 3-1 in an NBA Finals. Novak has an opportunity. It's one step at a time. But 7-5 here, we get to cash a couple of tickets. Pressure's on. Pressure's on. Everything's in play. We're following. I want to put some picks on the board for the people, okay? We're going to follow this the whole way, though. I did place a bet on Ludwig Oiberg at minus 140 to win the Scottish Open. He's now plus 130, all right? We're going to check in kind of with him with what's going wrong. We're going to talk to Keith Stewart, what's seen this number kind of fall off the map a little bit, but we'll get into that. I placed that wager with confidence. I'm considering placing again. We'll check in with Keith. We've got Major League Baseball starting in 10 minutes. Orioles, Yankees. Yanks going for the sweep. I will say this. The Yankees' price in every single one of these games has been surprisingly short, especially when you factor in the Yankees being a pre-series minus 135 favorite. Cole was not as big of a favorite as I would have thought. Heel was a bigger thought than I expected. And now even today, Rodon, a bigger dog than anticipated. Maybe that's because they don't believe Baltimore will be swept. I'm doing the same thing I have done every single game of this series. Judge home run bet, Gunnar Henderson home run bet. That's the move. That's the approach. That's the angle. Now, so far, it's 2-0 Judge, 0-2 Gunnar. I am personally a little frustrated that I bothered putting Gunnar Henderson in here, as this, for me, was a spot where Judge was really due. Breakout, big moment in Baltimore. He knows how to step up and answer the call. But I feel that Gunnar Henderson with the MVP race and the Yankees pitching at sometimes being a little bit susceptible to the long ball, it was worth the action. I am not going to jump ship on the last day here. If you get some boosts out there, I know DK has some home run boosts. You can get better than 7-1 on Gunny to go deep. So that's where I'm going for that opening game. I'll give you the MLB play of the day. Look, I know I said I wouldn't, but I had to. Nationals, money line. No way. Jake Irvin under 3.5 earned runs. We're going to have to make it happen here. It's minus 140. It's a stunning number. I thought this would be 2.5. This is a clear and obvious bounce-back spot for Jake Irvin coming off of a game against the Mets where he allowed 6 earned. Coming off of a game where he has allowed 4 or more earned runs, he is 5-0 to an under 3.5 prop. The Milwaukee Brewers do not put enough fear in me for a guy that has a sub-3 ERA on the road and a 3.13 on the season. It's the MLB play of the day, and it somehow, once again, comes from the Washington Nationals. Lastly, WNBA, first quarter over, Aces Mystics. That number is at 42.5, minus 112. Aaliyah Boston under 9.5 rebounds in that game against the Lynx today. That number is at minus 130, but again, you can always get some boosts, and you can get involved there where it is possible. We've got 6-6 here between Novak and Alcaraz. We are going to continue to follow everything going on at this men's final here at Wimbledon. Minus 1,100 for Carlos Alcaraz to win this, but Novak is the favorite to win a set here. It's actually pick. Minus 115. We're going to continue to follow this, but also, is Oiberg in trouble? We'll ask Keith Stewart next on SportsGrid.
One of the many exciting things about joining Live was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed, right? Been able to play events in Spain.
Here in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta. It's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50 years old club, but so much has happened through the years. I mean, we had the Ryder Cup, we had World Gold Championships, and now we have LIV. It's
very exciting, and really, if there was ever a place to get my first win, I feel like this would be the perfect week.
I feel like when this wind at this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
What the heck course were you playing today?
I don't know.
It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I don't know. I just made everything I looked at, Jerry. You have those days. I suppose this was one of those days for me, so I really shouldn't. I really enjoyed it. Every time I stood over a putt, just felt like I could make it, and you don't get days like that too often, or certainly I don't. So yeah, I relished in it, and I managed to hit a lot of good shots as well. So it was a special day.
All right, we're in a tiebreak at the men's final, 6-6. It's up. It's 3-2 Alcaraz right now in the tiebreak here. We'll continue to mix in your live updates, but we got to get Keith Stewart in here as well because we've got some movement on a Sunday at the Scottish Open. Keith, appreciate you checking in with us here and what should really be a great final round.
Oh, absolutely, and we've got drama early. Ludwig Aubert, the two-shot leader over on Saturday night, the 54-hole leader, he bogeyed the third hole, which is a par 5, and now Colin Morikawa, who's 2 under through 4, is within 2 shots. And I think we've got about a dozen guys before I jumped on here that were all within 4 shots, which would now be 3 shots with Aubert's quick bogey there on the par 5 third. So it's gonna be a great finish there. Guys have been going low,
and I think it's kind of interesting to, it's so funny when these. I'm so used to, on the Sundays, Keith, the main guys aren't going to tee off for another 3 hours, right? We're kind of in it already. I know that you were on Ludwig pre-tournament, so obviously you love your position heading into today. I don't, do you like to try and grab another golfer? Do you let it ride? What's the confidence level at with Ludwig right now?
It's funny. A couple hosts asked me that yesterday on SportsGrid, Joe and Scott, and I, by personality, I'm not much of a hedger. I will usually only hedge on an outright if I get to a playoff and I know basically what the parameters are of what I'm dealing with. But right now,
makes sense.
I will hit the live board on head-to-heads. I've been hitting them all morning, and then I'll also hit placements as well before the final round will start. And that's where I'll try to make up for it. Because if you're looking at Ludwig at minus 140 going into the final round, you can get positive numbers on some of these head-to-heads. And I already won with Charlie Hoffman this morning over Justin Lauer, and that was a better bet than where I laid less money than with Ludwig, and we've already won. And so it's just one of those things where I'm not a guy, you've got guys like Morikawa and McIlroy, and McIntyre's obviously in good form, and he's going to have the crowd support. They're going to be flying. I mean, who do you pick, right? So it's much easier if you could go one-on-one, especially when Ludwig's odds are so low.
Yeah, so I actually, and it's interesting, Keith, to hear you say that, I did play the Ludwig minus 140 price overnight because, just for me, I think matching up where he was relative to the field and his pedigree, and I also believe, and I'm sure that this is not how everybody wants to kind of approach these, but I think you can from a live board, I think he's too good not to close here, right? But it's a point well made that there are countless other opportunities. You know, sometimes it's very easy to get lost in the outright market as it pertains to golf betting because that's where all of the big numbers are. So where else are you putting your attention this morning? Is there anything else you're tracking live right now?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, case in point, Ludwig versus Colin Morikawa was a head-to-head this morning that was offered on one of the operators. And it was, you know, Ludwig at they were both minus 110. And that was just an opportunity where I'm like, it's not Ludwig versus 5 other guys. Or, you know what I love? You know, Ben Griffin's had some great Sundays as of late. And he, for a top 20, was sitting there at plus 200 at 2-1 on a guy that's had some great Sundays. You know, we're tracking stuff like that. I mean, that's where the odds market in the opportunities in golf becomes so good, because if you're having breakfast at Wimbledon right now, there's basically only one thing you can bet on: who's going to win. Well, there's things going on all up and down the scoreboard. I mean, you know, if you had Wyndham Clark earlier in the week, which I did as a top 20, right? The guy was mediocre for 3 straight rounds. He goes out and shoots 62 today. Next thing you know, he's in the top 10, and we just cash on that. That's the type of thing that you have to be able to watch and play out and handicap going into a tournament. And then you're able to, like, on that Sunday sweat, it's just not always the outrights. You know, I had Im and Aubert going into today. So Im was pre-tournament plus 4,500. As he starts to fall back, I'm looking at some of these other placements pre-tournament and also the live action head-to-head with what's going on with these guys. I mean, the scoring average today is already 2.1 under par. So cumulatively for the first 3 rounds, the average is only 1.3. These guys are going deep. There's a 61 already posted. Aaron Rye, he put up a 62. Wyndham Clark, 62. So there's going to be all sorts of action on the betting board where you can have tons of fun. I mean, that's what makes golf betting so much fun, is that there's so many guys out there right now that you can bet on, and there's edges as long as you know what you're looking for.
100%. It's really great insight there from Keith, who knows what he's doing on these live boards. Just quickly, an update at Wimbledon. 6-4 Alcaraz in this tiebreak here, so he's got championship point once again. And, man, Novak has had a lot of opportunities. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to save this here. It's very, very unlikely that he could even force that 4th set. But we are still here, of course, with Keith Stewart. We're talking a little Scottish Open. You know, Keith, you kind of mentioned some of the low scores that we're seeing today, right? The Wyndham Clark. So the Mansell shot a 61, right? Kind of out of nowhere. Do you have a kind of gauge right now for what our winning score likely looks like here at the Scottish Open?
I feel like with the way that the wind is coming out of the east today and the back 9, all of the key holes are playing downwind. So that'd be 14, 16, 18 are all playing downwind, and they're going to be gettable, and the weather looks somewhat favorable for Scotland over there. I mean, it's sub 60 in temperature, but these guys are in a position where they can go after this golf course, especially on the back 9. We saw that with Wyndham in particular. I think you got to get to 20. I felt like with a 2-shot lead, if Ludwig could shoot 66, then someone behind him had to shoot 6 under in order to catch him. So, you know, like that, to me, that's what we were talking about yesterday and in-game decisions. And that's still where my head's at. If Ludwig can get to, what's that going to be, 21 under, then I think he's going to be very difficult to beat. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a playoff at 19. We've seen a bunch of playoffs on this golf course before it became a co-sanctioned event between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. So, I think you just got to go low. And I would watch out for Rory. I think that Rory has been in really good shape this week, and he keeps getting better round by round, which gives me a lot of optimism for next week at Troon to back him, even at his short number. But you know what? He's probably got something special in the bag for today, and nobody can go after those holes on the back 9 like him with that driver. He proved it last year as our defending champion. And but to answer your question, I'd feel comfortable at 20, but even more so with the kid at 21.
All right, look, a lot of great insight there, Keith Stewart. We appreciate it, making some time for us here on this Sunday morning. But it is official. Carlos Alcaraz has won the Wimbledon men's final in 2024, his 2nd in a row. And, man, you want to talk about legacy. You want to talk about all-time stuff. Novak Djokovic, who is very clearly an all-time great, that Mount Rushmore of tennis, if you will, who had won 4 consecutive. Alcaraz has now beaten Novak in the final 2 straight years. That is what can, again, really take the legend of it to a next level, right? It's not just that Alcaraz was sat there waiting for a Novak, Federer, Nadal to fade out of the game and took opportunity of a weak time in tennis. No. He alone stopped this Novak run at Wimbledon dead in its tracks. Novak has won here 7 times. Same as Pete Sampras, 1 less than Federer. If you think Novak does not want to get to 8, 9, make it on his own, you'd be lying to yourself. It's why he was here off of knee surgery. And look, he got himself to the final. Path be darned. He got himself to the final. Alcaraz just played his best match of the entire tournament, you could easily argue, against Novak Djokovic. Straight sets. I mean, tough for me. I'm leaving here with black and blues at Wimbledon, unfortunately. Minus 225, both to win a set. Whoops. Not what I thought it was. At least it wasn't the minus 500 Novak to win a set, but that's how it goes. The next question is at the U.S. Open, does the Alcaraz price move? As of today, Novak the plus 155 favorite, Alcaraz the plus 160 second choice. Just based on the way the markets work, I doubt that holds, and I expect the Wimbledon winner, Carlos Alcaraz, to enter the U.S. Open as the favorite. We'll be right back here on
One of the many exciting things about joining Live was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed, right? I've been able to play events in Spain.
Here in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta, it's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50-year-old club, but so much has happened through the years. I mean, we had the Ryder Cup, we had World Gold Championships, and now we have Liv. It's
very exciting, and really, if there was ever a place to get my first win, I feel like this would be the perfect week.
When this wind in this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
What the heck course were you playing today?
I don't know.
It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I don't know. I just made everything I looked at, Jerry. You have those days. I suppose this was one of those days for me, so I really shouldn't. I really enjoyed it. Every time I stood over a putt, just felt like I could make it, and you don't get days like that too often, or certainly I don't. So I relished in it, and I managed to hit a lot of good shots as well. So it was a special day.
All right, we're back here. It's Game Time Decisions. And again, we just crowned another men's Wimbledon winner. Well, it's not a new winner. It's a repeat winner. It's Carlos Alcaraz, who got the job done. Again, I want to thank Casey Hudson, who joined us both this morning and yesterday morning. Shout out Joe Pisapia as well, who did an excellent job leading that coverage alongside Casey here on SportsGrid. And, I think for me, it's tough, right? I mean, swing and a miss, swing and a miss, swing and a miss. Did not get this one right. It stings always a lot more when you don't get it right at minus 225 than when you get it, when you get it wrong at plus 400. And that's kind of what happened here for myself today. I just really can't believe Novak ran out of the gym. He looked bad. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my eye for tennis is as sharp as it is for some other sports. But just from watching it, from hearing commentary, this was a rough outing from Novak, which makes me wonder, is that wear and tear, right? I can give you my best round 1, round 2, round 3. I make the Tiger comparison, right? You know, Tiger's kind of when you get to Augusta, typically, right? Hey, I can make a cut, but it's going to get ugly outside of that, right? At this point in time. Or is this because Novak rushed back because it's Wimbledon, because he's dominant, and he didn't want to miss out on an opportunity to win another Grand Slam, and specifically win another trophy here at Wimbledon? Is that what we saw here? And, you know, it's so funny, but, man, the expectations for a guy like Novak are different. He was the third choice to win this tournament, around plus 400, depending where you got in, and yet it feels like a massive disappointment. But I don't think that's because he lost. It's because of how he lost. I don't think this is not a situation where you go, oh, couldn't beat Alcaraz, washed. No. He got shut out here. And I don't want to say he wasn't competitive, but even in the shutout, you can be swept and hang, right? You can lose close. Would you argue that Novak lost close? I wouldn't. I would not make that argument. You can chalk, but so then it becomes, what do you want to chalk it up to? If it's the knee, right? Do you trust it by the time you get to the U.S. Open? I'm not sure if the answer, I don't know. That might become an instance where seeing is believing. Here's the tricky part with that, though. Wear and tear. When are you going to be able to see it and apply it? If he looks great at the beginning of the U.S. Open, you might still have questions that his worst match will come in a final. Because I think that's what happened here for Novak. I mean, this was his worst match. I know it was his toughest opponent. Carlos Alcaraz did not have some all-time super, this is the greatest thing we've ever seen run in this tournament. He didn't see Sinner. He lost a set in 4 straight matches going into this match here. He lost the opening set in 3 of the 4. So, I think this is one of these losses where the context is so important. And again, we do not judge Novak. You can certainly place, I know he's around minus 140 to reach the semis. I mentioned, SportsGrid's Joe Frizo, who, obviously does all the work with the early line, and he phrased the Novak to reach the semis minus 140. I don't know if he said bet of the century or bet of the year. Nevertheless, it was a winner. Maybe that's how you want to play a Novak. Again, you're not going to get that kind of number at the U.S. Open. Again, we're talking about a guy who was around 4-1 to win this tournament. It's a guy who's favored to win that U.S. Open. Let me jump over there quickly, see if anything moved. It would be a bit surprising, and it hasn't. It hasn't. But again, a plus 155 favorite at the U.S. Open. Does that hold? It's not until September, so we have time. But I'm not sure I'm not betting on that holding. I wouldn't make that wager. So it gets very interesting for a guy like Novak who's had such a run at the top. You lose at Wimbledon, and then if he doesn't get it done as the favorite at the U.S. Open, it then just kind of keeps dropping tiers. And that becomes very interesting. For Alcaraz, to do it on this stage, the reality for Carlos Alcaraz is he is now in position to join Novak, Nadal, Federer. That's the trajectory. You have to get there. What makes those guys great is that longevity. Now, Alcaraz has given no one a reason to believe that he won't have that, but he's also, 21? Again, the trajectory is there, right? And if in 15 years he stays on the trajectory, if you want to single out who is the best tennis player of all time, beating Novak in consecutive Wimbledons to stop a 4-stretch consecutive Wimbledon trophy run is going to hold a lot of weight. It is. But you have to get there, right? There's a lot of people who are, freely calling Patrick Mahomes the greatest quarterback of all time. Pat Mahomes is the most talented quarterback of all time. He's one of the most accomplished quarterbacks of all time. I think you probably could comfortably put him in your top 5 all time. There is so much more time left for him to be able to pass Tom Brady. That's 2 decades of excellence. And I'm not some New England Patriot fan. No. That's not how this works. But that's decades, plural, excellence, right? Longevity matters. But Alcaraz, not many starts as good as this, if any. So this is really one of those instances where it kind of confirmed, right, that you have a legend on tour in Carlos Alcaraz. We'll come right back here. We're live on SportsGrid Game Time Decision.
One of the many exciting things about joining Live was being able to come here and play in front of a Spanish crowd, especially on a level of event and level of competition that I hadn't really yet enjoyed, right? I've been able to play events in Spain.
Here in the beautiful Valderrama, which some say is the European Augusta, it's so special. There's so much history here. There's so much Spanish history here.
Well, it has so much history behind. It's only a 50-year-old club, but so much has happened through the years. We had the Ryder Cup, we had World Golf Championships, and now we have Live.
It's very exciting, and really, if there was ever a place to get my first win, I feel like this would be the perfect week.
When there's this wind in this golf course is so difficult that it's equally stressful no matter when or where you're playing it. But it was fun. It's always fun to be back home and be with the home crowd. It's always a joy to have this many people supporting me all day. It's so much fun.
What the heck course were you playing today?
I don't know.
It's brutal out there.
It is brutal. I don't know. I just made everything I looked at, Jerry. You have those days. I suppose this is one of those days for me, so I really shouldn't. I really enjoyed it. Every time I stood over a putt, just felt like I could make it, and you don't get days like that too often, or certainly I don't. So, I relished in it, and I managed to hit a lot of good shots as well. So it was a special day.
All right, a couple of live updates for everyone. Man, it's tough. You're Alcaraz. You win Wimbledon, and that breaking banner gets replaced right away with even bigger news. Carlos Rodon gets out of the first inning without giving up a run. That's story of the season, maybe. Thanks, Carlos. I don't know. The whole thing's very frustrating for me, but he did strike out 2, 3 up, 3 down for the Baltimore Orioles. It was not the same story for the Yankees. Judge was hit by a pitch, actually. In the opening inning there. Again, that's Kremer Rodon on the diamond. Ludwig does get one back here, so he's now 17 under. 16s for Colin Morikawa and Adam Scott. Robert McIntyre's at 15. Aaron Rye is in the clubhouse at 14. Nobody else within 3 shots. And I think it is fair to say that that's probably where the concern, you're probably, and let's see if the market's agreeing here. If you're in a situation where it's Ludwig, Morikawa, Scott, McIntyre, and it is. Even money Ludwig, plus 270 Morikawa, plus 450 Adam Scott, 6-1 Robert McIntyre, 60-1 Sung Jae Im, 65-1 Sahith Theegala, 150 Rory McIlroy. Shout out Matteo Manassaro checking in, 35-1. So books feel like you're down to a field of 4. The selling point for McIntyre is that he has as many holes available to him as Ludwig, so there's room. I still think Ludwig gets the job done. I know I said already I placed that minus 140 wager overnight. I am not going to look to play that wager again at the moment. I just feel comfortable about it. We talked to Keith Stewart, and a bogey on a par 5 for Ludwig is a real missed opportunity. A guy of that caliber gets out there on a par 5. You're looking for green, not red. So it could be a bit of a swing, but all in all, Ludwig is back with a shot lead right now, and I think he'll close. I really do. Morikawa is worrisome only because I've talked a lot about Morikawa and the fact that he could close. Oh, wow. Oh, folks. I mean, the movement. That didn't take long. Anybody want some U.S. Open odds? Men's singles? Your favorite, Carlos Alcaraz, plus 145. Your second choice, Jannik Sinner, plus 230. And at third, it's Novak Djokovic at plus 250. Again, you can easily, right? Bounce back Kev, right? Buy low. Sell me that Novak is a play at plus 250. They tacked $1 on because of a loss in a final at Wimbledon to Carlos Alcaraz. That there screams overreaction. You lost in a final to Carlos Alcaraz, and they added $1 to your price. The nature of the loss brings a lot of concerns about an ability to cross that finish line. He was dominated here. He was. And what you're going to start to see happen is people question the path. Again, the timeline of it. Ooh, does Alcaraz have his number? It's where you get into a really tricky spot. So I said that Novak would be dropped off from the favorite. I didn't think he'd drop off that far. And I also didn't know it was going to be within 15 minutes of him losing. Wow. How about that? Plus 250 Novak. He was plus 155 20 minutes ago. It's pretty interesting to watch play out. Pretty interesting, no doubt. I mentioned the MLB play of the day is Jake Irvin. The other spots I've circled up in the baseball board. We're going to talk to Joe Madden momentarily. But, I was waiting for my lineups. I think they've since come out, so I'm going to kind of chop these down. But Royals, Red Sox should have juice today. That series has gone under. Could pop off. There's going to be some interesting batters in those lineups. Keep tabs there. And the Phillies lineup should have some juice against Joey Estes. And I think Cubs money line is something to keep some tabs on as well. The only game I wasn't able to get to was that Dodger game because we didn't have a Dodger starter yet, and we still don't. If they go opener, that's kind of gonna bother me, right? And it looks like the Tigers are going opener, so that game's probably going to get moved off my card as is. But shout out to soon-to-be NL MVP Shohei Ohtani for going deep again yesterday. We'll be right back with Joe Madden.